Hello, I'm Professor Russell Sandberg, and in this video I'm going to share some writing tips. Now, writing is different for everyone, so chances are not all of these will apply to you, but let me tell you what I do, and I've got 5 top tips. My first tip, and probably most important one, is structure. It's all about structure. It's all about working out what are the beats of the argument, the beats of the piece. And so planning in advance is really key in relation to that, but also moving things around as you plan. But structure also refers to the microstructure. So even within each paragraph, within each point, what are the beats there? What's the logical way? And very often, as with most things, the simpler and the more straightforward it is, the better. So point 1, structure. Point 2 is get the evidence down. This is what I tend to do with any really big or important piece, is I avoid the scariest thing in the world. And the scariest thing in the world is a blank sheet of paper or a blank page in Word. And so I avoid that by just simply getting down the material, getting down the quotes, getting down the sources. And from that I then work out what the order of they should be and what the structure should be. So point 2, get the evidence down. Point 3 is really, really important. In a first draft, ignore the word count. Because if you write to a word count, you won't go where you need to go. It's always better to write big and cut back. So first draft, doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's an essay, whether it's a chapter, whether it's an application for something, ignore that word count. Because if you write it to the word count, what you'll end up doing is you will limit what you're going to say. My 4th tip is don't change your structure until you've finished your first draft. So unless you started and you think, no, this is completely and utterly wrong, follow the structure which you think you're going to follow until you finish that first draft. I never know what I'm going to argue, what I'm going to write, until I finish that first draft. I always think I do, and I'm always completely and utterly wrong. Once you've written the thing in full, you then realise what you're arguing, and that's the time then to change structure, perhaps, or to simplify the structure. That's what I often do. I often find that I don't need to go from A to B to C to D to E. I can go straightly from A to B to E, for instance. So that's something that often happens, and because I know what I'm arguing, then I can drip feed that throughout the document in the second draft. And that's my 5th and final tip. And again, this differs for everyone, but I do basically 3 main drafts. And I say basically because every time I log on, I will look to see what I did last time and I will change bits of it. But generally speaking, there's 3 distinctive drafts. So the first draft is you're getting down the idea, and that's incredibly exciting. There's something very, very nice about a second draft, actually, because at that point you kind of poured the ideas out, but you know where it's going, and then you're moving things around and making some quite drastic cuts and changes to hit the word count, perhaps, but also to simplify the argument. And then the third draft is that sort of final check. In terms of, does this now make sense? And usually at a final draft, there's not huge changes that need to be made, not a huge number of changes, and often it's a question of, oh, I've actually gone too far in responding to one point. And by points, another tip to make it 6 and break the rule is do share drafts with people, because other people will see things which you can't spot. So there we go. Those are my writing tips. Thank you very much for watching.